Incredible transformation. Single dad CEO discovers bride chained in burning car. You won't believe what happened next. Jake Thompson was no ordinary guy. At 35, he was already the CEO of a tech startup, balancing spreadsheets by day and bedtime stories by night for his son, Tommy. A single dad in Maplewood, a place where Sunday barbecues and the American dream thrive. Jake felt the weight of expectations most days. But that afternoon, as he drove through the sun-drenched streets to pick up Tommy from school, he had no idea that everything was about to change. Out of nowhere, flames shot up at the side of the road, twisting the air into a haze of orange and black. Panic surged in his chest. Jake pulled over, heart racing. A crowd began to form, whispering fears and spreading rumors. "There's someone inside," a man shouted. With a surge of courage and instinct, Jake dashed toward the inferno. Through the crackling fire, he heard her a muffled cry, desperate and scared. He peered into the flames, only to discover a woman trapped inside, her wedding dress cascading around her like a fiery halo. Amelia, the bride, was chained and terrified, her eyes wide with terror. This wasn't just a car accident, this was a cry for help, a real-world damsel in distress. Jake felt his resolve fortify within him. As he shouted for ropes and tools, the crowd rallied around him, mirroring the fierce loyalty that often defined Maplewood. Yet, a subtle tension bubbled beneath the surface. "She's from that wealthy family," murmured an onlooker, a hint of disdain lacing their voice. Jake clenched his jaw, knowing full well the biases that often tainted perceptions in their close-knit community. With every attempt to pry Amelia from her precarious prison, Jake felt the swirl of doubts creeping in. He was a single dad who had barely scraped together funding for his startup. How could he save her? As the flames licked closer and fear and uncertainty gnawed at his insides, he caught a glimpse of Tommy in the crowd, eyes wide and filled with admiration. Jake couldn't back down now. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. With renewed urgency, Jake directed the group to form a human chain, shouting instructions and fueled by adrenaline. As they worked together, he could see the beauty of community spirit rising from the ashes of quiet prejudice. Amelia's story began to unfold. She was a woman who chose love over wealth, and now faced the bitterness of her family's judgment. Hope started to flicker, a candle against the dark. But just as Jake and the crowd started to make progress, the flames intensified, roaring like a beast intent on keeping its prey. As despair threatened to cloud their efforts, Jake's heart raced. In that critical moment, he found clarity. This wasn't just about saving a woman, it was about fighting against a broken system, about redefining what community truly meant. Suddenly, a loud crack erupted, but the flames began to dwindle just as emotions surged to a boiling point. As Jake reached forward once more, he felt the pulse of change surge in the very fabric of their community. Just then, in the eye of the storm, Jake understood the stakes. This moment could redefine family. As he prepared to make the final move, the crowd leaned in, and everyone asked the same question in their hearts: what price will they pay for redemption? With one last push, Jake dove into the flames, tears stinging his eyes as the heat engulfed him. The world outside blurred into a cacophony of shouts and crackling fire. He reached for Amelia, her terrified gaze locking onto his with an unspoken plea. This was it, he had to reach her. "I've got you," Jake shouted as he yanked the chain, adrenaline pumping through his veins. It felt like a battle against time, every second ticking away as flames began to roar back ferociously. The crowd gasped collectively, a chorus of despair that echoed around him as the smoke thickened. The chain held tight, but Jake could see something else: Amelia's hand reaching for him, her fingertips grazing his glove. He couldn't fail her. He could hear Tommy's voice in his head. "Be brave, Dad." The memory spurred him onward. With a swift, fierce tug, the chain broke free. Jake pulled Amelia from the burning car, cradling her as he emerged from the chaos. The crowd erupted in a wave of relief, gasps transforming into cheers as they caught sight of the gasping bride. But before joy could settle in, panic set in as a loud crack echoed, the car groaning as if it could sense its own impending demise. Strong hands helped them to safety, but Jake's heart hammered as he realized Amelia was shivering uncontrollably. All that reflected in those hazel eyes was fear, but Jake saw something else too: gratitude. He knelt next to her, shaking from the heat, trying to offer comfort. "You're safe now," he assured her, but the words felt feeble against the horror she had just faced. As Amelia looked around, her expression shifted from terror to a mix of disbelief and vulnerability. Thank you for saving me," she whispered. In that moment, Jake realized he hadn't just saved a stranger, he had unlocked something deeper within himself, a spark that ignited his purpose beyond being a dad and a CEO. Then the sirens pierced through the aftermath, the flashing lights approaching like beacons of hope and chaos. Firefighters swarmed around them, their trained hands moving with precision and urgency while the paramedics began assessing Amelia. Jake felt torn as they separated him from her. He had pushed through fire and fear for her, and now she was slipping away. Tommy bounded up to him, wide-eyed and bright. "Dad, you did it. You saved her." His enthusiasm was infectious, and for a moment, it diminished the weight that pressed upon Jake's chest. He smiled down at his son, the bond between them deepening, not just as father and son but as heroes in their own right, but the reality of the situation seeped back in. The aftermath of the fire hung heavy on their shoulders. "You're a hero, Dad," Tommy said again, shining with pride. Yet Jake's heart drifted back to Amelia, who was now being loaded into an ambulance, a fragile figure amidst the chaos. Suddenly, a voice broke through the haze. "What has just happened here?" It was a stern tone, coming from Amelia's family, wealthy and powerful. The disdain was palpable, with judgment glinting in their eyes. Had they come to claim her or to condemn her choice? Jake felt the ground beneath his feet shift. Was this rescue going to spark a war, one that could unravel everything he believed about community and family? How could he protect Amelia from a judgment that echoed far beyond the flames? As the crowd began to whisper again, now filled with opinions and speculations, Jake turned back to Amelia, just in time to catch her scared gaze before the ambulance doors closed. It hit him like a wave: her battle was far from over. Who will stand by her now? He found himself thinking, as that flicker of connection burned bright inside of him. Jake knew this was only the beginning, a turning point that could lead to something deeper. He had crossed a line, a bridge now laid between their worlds. Would he step forward as a friend, a protector? Or retreat back into the shadows of his own life? The sound of sirens faded, but the weight of his decision pressed down, thick as smoke. In that moment, he found his heart racing once more. What would it take to truly save her? And as his gaze followed the ambulance into the distance, a question lingered in the air. Could he confront not just the flames, but the firestorm of change it ignited? Jake stood still, his mind swirling through the haze of confusion and chaos. He felt a mix of triumph and panic, a crushing intensity settling on his shoulders like the weight of the world. The cheers of the crowd faded to a dull roar as his focus narrowed in on the ambulance, its doors now shut tight. He swallowed hard, battling the gnawing worry that lodged deep in his chest. "Dad?" Tommy's voice broke through, innocent and bright, like a beam of sunshine cutting through the thick smoke. "Can we go home now?" The question tugged at Jake's heart, pulling him back to the reality of his son. This was supposed to be a day of joy, a wedding celebration, not a scene plucked from a nightmare. But as he knelt to meet Tommy's eager gaze, he realized the complexity of their lives had only just begun to unravel. "Just a minute, buddy," Jake replied, his voice a quiet effort as he fought to shake off the aftermath of adrenaline. He cast another glance at the ambulance, wondering about the girl inside the girl he had saved but barely knew. Amelia, the name resonated like a gentle echo, and he felt a surge of responsibility. She was more than just an accident victim now, she was a part of his life, woven in through fire and desperation. But what did this connection mean? And how could he help her? Before he could wrestle with his thoughts, a figure approached Amelia's family. Jake could feel their intensity radiate even from a distance, their sharp suits clashing with the charred surroundings. The patriarch, a tall man with a hard face, strode forward, anger simmering beneath his calm exterior. "What were you thinking?" The words hit Jake like a slap. "You risked everything. Who do you think you are?" Each word dripped with authority, demanding to be answered. Jake caught Tommy's eyes widening, confusion written all over his face. As a protective instinct surged within him, Jake puffed out his chest, determined to stand his ground. "I did what I had to do. She was trapped. I wasn't going to let her die. Do you realize her life is worth more than your reckless heroics?" The man stepped closer, eyes hardening. "You could have lost everything, and for what? Some poor decision made on a whim?" The rebuke felt like a punch to the gut, but Jake wouldn't back down. "You don't understand. She was trapped, scared. I couldn't just leave her." Behind the suit, something softened in the man's gaze. Sweet Amelia was not just a story to them, she was a daughter, a sister, cherished and loved. Jake's heart ached at the realization, the weight of her family's expectations crashing down. Tommy squeezed Jake's hand. "Dad, why are they mad? You saved her." The innocence of his words surged through Jake like a lifeline, grounding him amidst the tension. "I know, buddy. But sometimes people don't see the whole picture." Jake's voice trailed off. How could he explain to his son that life wasn't always about courage? That it mingled dangerously with judgment and fear? In that moment, Jake could feel the urge to shield Amelia from this world tightening in his chest. He wanted to protect her, but what could he do? He was just one man with a son to raise, wrestling to find his own place in the thicket of uncertainty. Then he realized, maybe it wasn't just about her safety, it was about standing up for what was right. Would he rally the courage to fight not just for her, but for both of their futures? As the ambulance began to move, an idea sparked within him. "I'm going to make sure she's okay, however I can," he said quietly to himself, conviction building in his heart. But before he could take that first step, a familiar face appeared, a friend from the crowd, someone Jake hadn't seen in years. "Jake! Hey, man! What happened? You alright?" Distracted from his thoughts, Jake forced a smile, satisfaction bleeding from an emotional wound he didn't realize had reopened. "I'm fine, just dealing with it all." But as his gaze followed the ambulance, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. Resolute, he felt the call to action intensifying. But what would that mean? How far would he go to bridge the gap between their two worlds? And as uncertainty settled, one burning thought ignited: would Jake rise to this challenge and help the girl whose life had entwined with his? The looming question painted a picture full of possibilities, and the flames of change flickered brightly on the horizon. Jake could hardly focus on his friend's familiar face as the noise of the crowd pulsed in the back of his mind. Everyone faintly buzzed around him, but all he could think about was Amelia, trapped in that ambulance, fighting for her life. What if she didn't make it? Would he be responsible? "Earth to Jake," his friend said, waving a hand in front of him. "You sure you're alright?" "Yeah, I'm good." Jake forced another smile, though it felt strained, like stretching a rubber band to the breaking point. "I just have things on my mind." "Right. Like the wedding?" His friend chuckled, glancing over at the remnants of the celebration, people still dancing in oblivious joy. "An emergency like that? You'd think it was a movie or something." Jake followed the direction of his friend's gaze. Every twirl and giggle felt like a cruel mockery of what had just happened. Discomfort surged through him, knowing that while he had faced fire, others remained blissfully unaware. Listen, I need to. Jake hesitated, not wanting to admit that he was leaving this celebration for a girl he didn't even know. But deep down, he knew it was more than just a crush. I need to check on someone. Sure, man. Take care of your business. You've always been the hero, huh? Jake chuckled half-heartedly. I don't feel much like a hero right now. With that, he took a few steps away, feeling the need to escape the music and laughter. Each footfall felt heavier, like they were dragging him back to the reality he was desperate to avoid. Just ahead, the fading lights of the ambulance flickered, a beacon calling him forward. As he approached the hospital's entrance, Jake's heart pounded. He remembered Amelia's terrified eyes, the dread that hung over her as she cried for help. Her family was in distress, and so was he. The intersection of their lives was so abrupt, so unplanned. He pushed through the automatic doors, the sterile, cool air a stark contrast to the chaos he had just escaped. Inside, the starkness washed over him. Bright lights, busy nurses, and anxious families filled the waiting area. He spotted Amelia's family, not just the furious patriarch but several others were huddled together, wide-eyed and filled with grief. Jake hesitated, feeling like an outsider yet again. But before he could turn away, the man with the steely demeanor caught sight of him. You. The voice was a cracked whip, sharp and fierce. You need to leave. This isn't your place. Wait, Jake said, desperation creeping into his voice. I need to know how she is. The man moved closer, a powerful figure towering over him. Why? So you can feel good about your heroics? Leave us alone. You don't understand what she means to us. I know what it's like to want to protect someone, Jake responded, feeling a fierce passion rise. You think I wanted to be here? I didn't choose this. But I chose to save her. Choose? You think this is a game? The man's face twisted, revealing deep lines of anguish. Her life is more than a choice you made. We're losing her. A wave of empathy swept through Jake. He saw beyond the anger, saw a father's heart breaking. But he also felt a growing fire inside him, stirring with the need to connect. I can help. I want to help. The man blinked, uncertainty flickered in his eyes. Help? Help how? Jake took a breath. He didn't have all the answers, but he felt a need to bridge this divide. I want to know what she needs. If there's anything I can do. As silence hung thick in the air, the family's worry spilled over like a rushing tide. Maybe they needed more than just physical help. They needed hope. But just as Jake was about to take a step deeper into the tangled web of circumstances, his phone buzzed. He pulled it out, glancing at the notification, distracted for just a moment. And when he looked up again, the family was gone. Jake stood still, heart racing. Where had they gone? Had he lost his chance to make a connection? In this chaos, would he ever understand the weight of Amelia's world? What if this was the moment that would change everything? Jake felt the heavy pull of doubt, one that felt familiar. He had always held on to hope, yet today felt different. As the world swirled around him, the question loomed large: would he ever find his place amidst all this pain and uncertainty? He glanced toward the hallway, searching for any sign of the family. Was he too late? The stakes were rising, and with every heartbeat, the weight of the choices ahead pressed down harder. Would he take action? Or would he let fear define his journey? Jake's pulse quickened as he surveyed the empty waiting area. Instinctively, he moved toward the hallway, where he thought he had last seen Amelia's family. The fluorescent lights cast a harsh glow, illuminating every anxious face he passed. Each one was a reminder of how fragile life could be. He walked briskly, his heart thumping like a drum in his chest. Would he find them? Was there still a chance to connect? Just as he reached the end of the corridor, he spotted a figure, Amelia's mother, hunched over in a chair, her shoulders trembling as she held tightly to her husband's hand. The man who had confronted Jake before looked different now, his strength diminished, the anger replaced by despair. "Excuse me," Jake said, stepping hesitantly into their space. I want to help. Please, let me know what I can do." Amelia's mother glanced up, horror in her eyes before they softened, tracing over the sincerity in Jake's face. "Help? What could you possibly do?" Her voice was a whisper, thick with the weight of grief. "I can pray with you. I can be here," he offered, words spilling out before he had fully considered them. It felt awkward, fumbling, but he needed to try. The father looked up, studying Jake's earnest expression, perhaps trying to discern the boy from the man. He let out a sigh that echoed with the weight of exhaustion. "You don't know what she's up against." Jake shook his head slightly. "No, but I want to understand. I don't want to just stand by." With that, Amelia's mother wiped tears from her eyes, and a flicker of hope ignited within those two broken hearts. "She's in surgery. It's serious, and all we can do is wait." Jake nodded, feeling the gravity of her words. They sat in silence for a moment. He could see the worry etched deeply on their faces, every line reflecting an untold story of love and uncertainty. "Amelia's always been the one who brought us together," her mother murmured, her voice cracking. "Tell me, who are you to her? I barely know her. But I couldn't just walk away. When I saw her in that car, I knew I had to do something." The truth felt raw, but it was real, and it resonated with them. As they shared their fears, Jake felt the emotional ties drawing them closer, binding them through this calamity. He wanted to be that connection, a vessel of their love for Amelia. "She's special. You love her. That's the most powerful thing there is." Amelia's father looked over, a spark of recognition lighting up his features. "You're right. We can't give up on her. We need to keep fighting." And just like that, Jake realized something profound. Hope, no matter how dim, had the power to unite even in the darkest times. While his past haunted him with doubt, the moment forged a new sense of purpose. Then, the intercom crackled to life, a jarring sound that disrupted their gathering of strength. "Attention, please. Family of Amelia Larson report to the surgical floor." Jake felt the world shift beneath him. His heart raced again, but this time it was not just fear, it was a mix of anticipation and dread. They all stood, but Jake hesitated, knowing this moment could lead to outcomes that felt unbearably heavy. "Let us go," Amelia's father asserted with newfound resolve, clutching his wife's hand. They moved as a unit, a family about to confront the unknown, with Jake falling in step alongside them. As they made their way to the surgical floor, Jake sensed something stirring inside him, a determination to be more than a bystander. Maybe, just maybe, he could help turn the tide for Amelia and her family. But would the weight of his own fears and insecurities hold him back? The questions flooded his mind as they reached the operating room door. In this moment, uncertainty mingled with resolve, and Jake realized the real battle was just beginning. With each passing second, everything felt suspended. Would he find the courage to face the storm ahead? The moment they reached the surgical floor, a new wave of emotions surged through Jake. The starkness of the white walls, the frantic movements of nurses, and the cold clinical air felt overwhelming. Fear prickled at the edges of his mind as they approached the intensive care waiting area. Time itself seemed to stretch, with each heartbeat echoing in his ears. Amelia's father, a pillar of determination, took a deep breath before facing the nurses. "Is there any news?" he asked, his voice a low tremor that resonated with urgency. The nurse's eyes were sympathetic as she shook her head. "I'm sorry, we're still waiting for updates." Jake watched as Amelia's mother wrapped her arms around her husband, seeking comfort in his embrace. It was a powerful display of unity in the face of calamity. Jake felt helpless but knew he needed to stay present, to support them in whatever way he could. With every passing minute, hope felt like a flickering candle, teetering on the edge of being extinguished. Jake fidgeted, hands stuffed deep into his pockets, wrestling with the kind of anguish that clawed at his chest. Amelia's life hung in the balance, and he felt the gravity of it crashing into him. Then a thought sparked within him. "I could try to get people here," he offered, voice steadier than he felt. "I mean, I know some friends who care about her. They should know." The idea of reaching out felt right. He needed to do something, to forge a connection that could help them all. Amelia's mother released her husband and looked at Jake, thousands of unspoken words lingering in the air. "You'd do that? For us?" "Yes," Jake replied, feeling a rush of determination wash over him. "She deserves a community of people who love her around her now, even if they're not family." Her eyes shimmered with the kind of gratitude that felt like a warm hug. "Thank you." With that, Jake stepped away, picking up his phone with newfound purpose. He quickly texted a group of friends, letting them know what was happening, urging them to come and support Amelia. "We need to rally for her," he typed, each word a plea filled with hope. As he hit send, he caught a glimpse of Amelia's dad, who was staring out the window, lost deep in thought. The man's shoulders were hunched, his spirit dimmed, yet Jake could see the tiniest flicker of hope fighting for breath. It was enough to stir something reminiscent of resilience in his own heart. Hours passed, each one stretching painfully slow, and Jake felt his own fears seep back in. What if nothing changed? What if they lost her? Could he bear to see that look of despair on her family's faces? Suddenly, the sliding doors opened, and a doctor stepped into the waiting area. His demeanor was serious yet calm, and the uncertainty made Jake's heart race again. "Family of Amelia Larson?" Instinctively, they all sprang forward, holding their breath. Jake stood rooted in place, feeling the weight of the moment. Each second felt like an eternity. "She's stable for now," the doctor said, a hint of relief edged in his voice. "The surgery went well, but she's not out of the woods yet." With those words, life itself seemed to gasp. A mixture of relief and dread filled the air. Jake held on to that spark of hope tightly, knowing that this was just the beginning of a long fight. As the family gathered around the doctor, drowned in questions, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that his journey wasn't over yet. What if his efforts to support Amelia impacted their lives in ways he had never imagined? He glanced back at the window, watching the distant stars begin to twinkle in the night sky. There was a long road ahead, a winding path filled with challenges and uncertainty. Would he have the strength to keep fighting alongside them? Jake took a deep breath, feeling all the emotions surge through him again. The stakes were high, and it felt like it was only the beginning of something much bigger than any of them had anticipated. How could one moment change so many lives? As the night deepened outside, the waiting area filled with an uncomfortable silence, punctured only by muffled voices and the occasional beeping of machines echoing from behind the closed doors. Jake remained close, overshadowed by the gravity of the moment, knowing they were all waiting for updates. Hopes muted, but not extinguished. Amelia's mother maintained a solemn vigilance. She paced a little, her fingers repeatedly brushing away stray hair, her eyes darting toward the entrance, searching for answers. Jake could see the toll it was taking on her. He admired her strength, yet his heart ached for her. In a restless attempt to distract himself, he pulled out his phone again. Scrolling through social media, he noticed how many of Amelia's friends had already responded to his text. "On our way," each message came in like a tiny lifeline thrown into the tumultuous sea they all faced. Just as he was getting lost in the comfort of that virtual connection, a laughter echoed in the corridor. It was faint but bright. The laughter of children. Somehow, it felt out of place here. Joy and hope materializing where there was so much fear felt surreal, almost jarring. Jake glanced toward the source, seeing a group of parents ushering in children, some holding colorful balloons. It felt like an invasion of brightness in their dark moment. He thought of how Amelia had always been a light among her friends, a real-life fairy, always bringing life to any gathering. The sound of laughter reminded him of who she truly was. "Jake?" Amelia's father's voice broke through his reverie. The man stood tall, but the concern etched on his face was heavy. "Can we talk for a second?" "Of course," Jake replied, following him out into a quieter nook near a window, away from the bustle. "How are you holding up?" Amelia's dad asked, attempting to gauge Jake's strength. "I'm okay, trying to stay strong for you all," Jake replied, his voice steady yet laced with concern. "How about you?" A sigh escaped Amelia's father. "I don't know. Watching my little girl fight is both heartbreaking and inspiring. It feels like an eternity already." "I know," Jake murmured, desperate to bridge the gap between their shared experience. "We're all counting on her to pull through. I sent out messages for her friends to come. I'm sure they'll be here soon." Amelia's father nodded appreciatively. "It means a lot. Amelia thrives on the love of her friends. She always has." Just then, a flurry of voices burst into the waiting room. Amelia's friends, some carrying pizzas, others with balloons, flooded the space. They rushed toward Amelia's parents, offering hugs and words of comfort. Laughter mixed with tears, creating a bittersweet symphony of emotions. Jake took a step back, watching the scene unfold. In that moment, he realized how much love Amelia had surrounded herself with, how deep and wide her impact spread, but just as hope began to blossom, uncertainty crept back in. The doctor appeared again, this time with a more serious look. "I need to speak to the family privately," he stated, gesturing for Amelia's parents. A lead weight formed in Jake's stomach. He felt the blast of dread that hung thick in the air as he watched the family assemble. What did this mean? Was there more to her condition? With a sudden flutter of energy, Jake stepped forward, instincts driving him. "Can I be here too?" he implored, his voice trembling. "I want to support them." "Please." The doctor paused, studying Jake's face. "It's your call, but this might be difficult to hear." So many emotions swirled around Jake: fear, courage, hope. Was he ready to face whatever news awaited them? As the family huddled around the doctor, an anxious sensation buzzed beneath his skin. Would this dark moment shift everything they had fought for? Feeling the weight of the world resting upon him, Jake took a deep breath, steeling himself for the next turn in this harrowing journey. What awaited them in the shadows of uncertainty? As the door clicked shut behind them, he realized the next chapter was about to unfold, one that could change everything. Jake's heart raced as the door clicked shut. He felt surrounded by the suffocating weight of anticipation, adrenaline surging through him. The laughter from Amelia's friends now felt distant, a hollow echo fading into the background as he stared at the door that separated them from news they desperately hoped wouldn't be unbearable. He shifted on his feet, trying to gather the thoughts racing through his mind. What could be taking so long? What could they possibly be discussing in there? His gut twisted with a deep, primal anxiety. The room felt heavier with each passing second, the cheerful voices outside like a mocking reminder of the fear cloaked within the small group behind the door. Amelia's mother stood to one side, her hands clasped tightly around her waist, betraying the calm she tried to project. He caught her eye, and she offered a small, strained smile, but Jake could see the panic lurking behind it. A moment of silence stretched between them, one filled with unspoken questions and shared dread. "I hope she's okay," Jake said, breaking the oppressive silence. "She has to be okay." Her mother nodded, though her eyes glistened. "She's a fighter. Always has been." Just then, a nurse emerged from the adjacent corridor, her expression unreadable but gentle. Jake and Amelia's parents flocked to her, the palpable tension radiating off them. The nurse glanced back toward the closed door where the doctor had gone, then cleared her throat. "I'm sorry," she began, "the doctor will be with you shortly. He just needs to finish up a few things." "Is Amelia?" Amelia's father started, but the nurse cut him off gently. "I'm not able to give details. You'll hear from him soon." She gave an encouraging nod, then stepped away, moving down the hallway, the uncertainty churned in Jake's stomach. He wished he could reach through the walls, to be in that room, to hear the truth. He needed to feel grounded. He turned to the group of Amelia's friends who clustered together on an oversized couch. Some were still wielding the balloons and pizza, clearly trying to maintain a sense of normalcy, but he saw how their faces betrayed their worry. One girl, Sarah, was biting her lip, tears welling in her eyes. "Hey, it's going to be okay," Jake said, stepping over to them. "She can't leave us. Not now." "Right," one of the boys said, his voice trembling. "She's too strong to give up." Their whispered reassurances were filled with vulnerability as they clung together, leaning on each other for support. Jake felt a wave of warmth wash over him. The strength of friendship in the face of tragedy was profound. Suddenly, the door to the doctor's office creaked open. Jake's heart skipped a beat as he felt the tension rise in the room. Amelia's parents rushed forward, while Jake held back, unsure if it would be better to confront this moment head-on or remain a step back, a silent second string in this battle for Amelia's life. The doctor's face was grave, but there was something else in his eyes. Was it determination? Hope? Whatever it was, Jake clung to that tiny glimmer as the doctor began to speak. "Thank you for your patience. I have some news." Jake could barely breathe as he waited, every pulse in his body focused on those next few words. The entire waiting room seemed to still, a collective breath held in anticipation. What would the doctor say? Would it be a reason to rejoice or a crushing blow? The stakes felt impossibly high as they braced themselves for what came next. Would the love they summoned for Amelia be enough to keep the darkness at bay? As he stood on the edge of the unknown, Jake knew something would shift, but what would it mean for them all? Jake's breath caught in his throat as the doctor cleared his voice, each word he spoke like a weight added to the already heavy tension in the room. "Amelia has been stabilized. However, she's in critical condition. We need to monitor her closely for the next 48 hours. A collective sigh of relief surged through the group, though it was laced with heartbreak. Stabilized meant she was still fighting, but critical offered no guarantees. Amelia's mother reached out for her husband's hand, their fingers entwining as they absorbed the news. "What can we do?" Amelia's father asked, his voice trembling with a mix of hope and anger. "What does that mean for her recovery?" The doctor offered a sympathetic glance. "Right now, it means we need to keep her comfortable and monitor her vital signs. It's going to be a long road. I won't sugarcoat it. I want to see her." Jake blurted out, the instinct to shield Amelia overpowering his fear. He needed to be by her side, to remind her she wasn't alone in this fight. "Visiting hours are restricted, but I'll see what I can do," the doctor replied. "You'll be able to see her, but only for a few minutes at a time." Amelia's friends exchanged glances, their earlier bravado slipping. They all shared the same unspoken thoughts. What would it be like to see her? "Okay," Jake said, steeling himself. "Let us go see her." He pushed through the group, leading the way as they followed the doctor down the fluorescent-lit corridor. With every step, his heart raced not from excitement, but from fear of what he might see. When they reached Amelia's room, they stood outside, hesitant. Jake glanced back at the others, who seemed smaller, shadows of themselves against the stark walls of the hospital. He knocked lightly on the door, not wanting to enter without permission. "Come in," a quiet voice called out. He took a deep breath and opened the door. There she was, lying on the hospital bed, frail and still. Machines beeped softly around her, monitors displaying the rhythmic rise and fall of her chest. "Hey, Em," he whispered, stepping inside. He could see the bandages covering her arms, bruises marring her once vibrant skin. The sight of her like this twisted his stomach into knots. Amelia's eyes fluttered, and for a brief moment, awareness flickered in her gaze. "Jake?" she croaked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah, it's me," he replied, his heart swelling with an overwhelming urge to comfort her. "I'm here. You're going to be okay. We're all here." Tears streamed down her cheeks, and he wasn't sure if they were from pain or relief. It hurt him to see her like this, but she was alive, she was fighting. Amelia's friends gathered around the bed, their expressions a mix of love and worry. Sarah stepped forward, clutching a small teddy bear, one Amelia had given her years ago. "I brought this for you," she said, her voice breaking. "Remember?" Amelia smiled weakly at Sarah, the corners of her mouth turning up despite the pain, and Jake felt a rush of warmth. It wasn't much, but it was enough to hold on to. For the next few moments, they surrounded Amelia with stories of better times, laughing softly at shared memories while her eyes sparkled with a fading light. Jake's heart ached for her, for them all, as the fear of what was to come weighed heavily on his shoulders, but the laughter eventually trailed off, the gravity of the situation returning. Amelia's eyelids began to droop, a sign her body was craving rest. "Get some sleep, Em," Jake said softly, reaching for her hand, threading his fingers through hers. "We'll be right here." As her eyes closed, he felt the shift within him. He couldn't let go, not now. The battle wasn't over, it had just begun. Outside the room, the fluorescent lights flickered, and Jake felt a rising dread in his chest. What could happen next? What if she didn't wake up? In that moment, he knew he had to do everything in his power to help her recover, to bring back the vibrant girl he loved. And in agreeing to this journey, he felt a new spark of determination ignite within him. But before he could process his feelings, a nurse rushed past him, the alarm on the monitor beeping wildly. Jake's pulse quickened. Was this the moment everything changed again? Jake's heart raced as he felt the ground beneath him tremble with uncertainty. He turned to the nurse, who rushed past him into the room. The heavy dread settling over him felt unbearable. For a moment, time froze. "No, not now," he whispered under his breath, stepping closer to the door. Amelia's friends huddled together, wide-eyed, murmuring prayers under their breath. Jake could feel the tension in the air as the sound of frantic beeping echoed from within the room. He fought the urge to shove the door open and rush inside, but his feet felt glued to the floor, rooted in fear. Suddenly, the doctor exited, his expression serious but calm. "We're monitoring some instability in her vitals. We need to act quickly, but can I ask for your patience?" "Act quickly?" Jake's voice cracked as he stepped forward. "What's happening?" "Amelia's body is responding to the trauma more than we anticipated. That's why we need to stabilize her. We'll do everything we can." Those words echoed in Jake's mind like a refrain he couldn't shake off. He turned to Amelia's parents, their faces layers of worry and determination. "We can't lose her," he said, his voice trembling. "We won't," Amelia's father replied, his eyes fierce with resolve. "She has fought so hard already. She is strong." He wrapped an arm around his wife, and they drew comfort from each other, united against the storm, but Jake felt something shift within himself. In that moment, a realization sparked. "We need to do more than wait," he proclaimed, his voice gaining strength as he spoke. "We need to surround her with love, light, and hope. She needs to know she is not alone, that she is cherished." The parents glanced at him, surprised but grateful. Then, they nodded, agreeing silently that this was the right path to take. Jake rushed to the waiting area, his determination blazing within him. He pulled out his phone, sending a message to the entire community. "We need to rally for Amelia. As friends, as family, we need to come together." His fingers flew over the screen as he typed. "Join us for a candlelight vigil outside the hospital. Let us show her how much she means to us." As the messages went out, he could feel the flames of community blazing brighter within him. Friends began to respond almost immediately, a flood of encouragement and support. "We're in. We'll be there," they typed back, filling him with hope. Returning to the waiting area, Jake turned to Amelia's family, a spark of hope igniting in the air. "I set up a vigil. Let us gather people. Let them come and show her they care. The parents' faces lit up with gratitude. Amelia's mother took Jake's hands in hers. Thank you, we need this. She needs to know her love surrounds her. And so it began. As the sun set, people started to arrive, friends, family, and even some who had just heard of the tragic event. They carried candles, lighting the night with soft flickers, a symphony of warmth amidst the cold darkness surrounding the hospital. Jake stood shoulder to shoulder with Amelia's family, all of them together as the warmth of the community enveloped them. Each face reflected hope, each flickering flame a testament to the love Amelia had woven into their lives. As the candles illuminated their faces, the air filled with shared stories and laughter, echoing the spirit of the girl they were all fighting for. Hey, Amelia! We're here! Jake shouted, his voice steady as he spoke into the night, hoping she could hear him. You are surrounded by love. You'll fight through this. You're strong. Amelia's parents joined, their voices ringing out together. You've always been our light, Amelia. Keep shining. Mom! A child's voice cried out from the crowd, igniting admiration as they lifted their candle higher. You are brave. You will be back with us. Tears welled in Jake's eyes as he felt the power of the moment, the strength of unity igniting emotions like never before. The energy in the air surged, palpable and fierce, building hope that felt almost like a tangible force. Hours passed, but they held on, a pillar of light and love encircling the hospital. Eventually, the doctor emerged once more, a hint of relief breaking through the tension on his face. Amelia's stabilization techniques worked. She's still in recovery, but she's fighting back. Thanks to all of you. The crowd erupted in cheers and gasps of hope. Joy surged through Jake's chest as he glanced at Amelia's parents, tears streamed down their faces, but this time those tears were filled with gratitude and relief, and in that moment, Jake understood. The price they paid for redemption was love, the willingness to show it fiercely, passionately, without reservations. As the night deepened, Jake looked at the flickering candles. It was more than just light in the darkness. It was a promise, a commitment to Amelia and each other. When she woke, she would know she wasn't alone. She would see the faces that cared, the connections that had formed through chaos. Together, they were not just fighting for a life, they were crafting a community bound by love. As dawn broke, with soft hues of orange and pink rising, Jake knew something incredibly profound had emerged from this terrifying ordeal. He had discovered not just a friendship with Amelia but the deeper meaning of family, rooted in community, a family that defied expectations, nurtured courage, and inspired transformation. Together, they would rise, and fight, and love. They would gather their strength and wait for Amelia to come back to them. This was not the end, it was just the beginning. Now, it's time for you to take action. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to support our channel. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. And share instantly this transformative story with at least 5 friends who need to see this journey. This is the moment to show your support. You won't want to miss our next exclusive stories.